Hello, lovelies. So today I have a really special dueling deck dialogue, and I'll talk about what makes it special in a moment. But before I dive into that, I just want to say a few words about the Drop 'em 78 challenge. Now, if you're watching this video, you may already be very familiar with the Drop 'em 78, but if you're not, so this is this challenge that I do every year from October 15th to December 31st, and you all are warmly invited to join in. The whole point of this challenge is to dedicate ourselves to one deck, each of us picking a deck that resonates with us, that is going to inspire us, that's going to enliven us, that's going to take us as deep as we need to go. So dedicating ourselves to one deck and then working through that deck one card at a time, one day at a time. October 15th, starting with the Ace of Pentacles, finishing on December 31st with the World. We go through the deck, Pentacles, Wands, Cups, Swords, Majors, starting with the Fool and ending with the World. It's a yeah, I love the Drop 'em 78, and I love this portion of the challenge because for me the challenge typically begins in early September, if not before, when I'm trying to figure out what deck am I going to work with. And for me, that process is a process both of kind of seeing what cards, what artist vision, what interpretive universe really speaks to me at this moment in my life, in my work with tarot and my work with spirit. But even more profoundly, I find that the process of trying to choose a deck actually helps me figure out what I need to be working with, because there's a conversation that starts to emerge. There's a kind of spiritual practice in this work of trying to figure out the deck to use, for me at least. Individual results may vary. Some of you may be like, I own one tarot deck and that's the one I'm working with. Or you may have just picked up a tarot deck that you're fascinated with and it's obvious. For me, this year particularly, it feels like that is a really big question. Which deck? Which deck? But what's emerging as I look at the various decks, what's emerging is a set of concerns, a set of energetic questions that are what I'm chewing on, as it were, what I'm exploring right now. So today's dueling deck dialogue. Oh, and by the way, lots of linkity links down below, so you can find out more about the challenge. You can find out how to join the challenge officially so that you're registered. The main perk in being registered is that I will be sending out emails throughout the 2.5 months about what I'm discovering, with maybe some thoughts about what you might be asking yourselves, sort of invitations for further inquiry. And October 15th, which is next Tuesday, at noon Pacific time, we will have a launch party. If you've registered for the challenge, you will both receive an invite to that challenge, to that Zoom, although it's the same URL that we use every month for the Mindful Tarot Community Zooms. More importantly, if you can't make it in person, if you've registered, I will send you a link to the video. And the same with the closing party on December 31st at midnight Pacific time. If you can't make it in person, I'll send you a link. So there is some benefit to being on that mailing list. It also gives me a way to reach out to people potentially who have specific questions or specific decks that they're working with. Okay, enough said. Let me get into the meat of this, which is to talk about decks that are all working with photography and all exhibiting a kind of theatrical sensibility. Now, the original Pamela Coleman Smith artwork for the Waite Smith was highly influenced by Pamela Coleman Smith's, not only her artistic sensibility or Arthur Edward Waite's thoughts about the tarot and sort of Golden Dawn associations, but the original Waite Smith deck was also influenced by the fact that Pamela Coleman Smith was a theater artist. She was an illustrator and a set designer. And so she is already thinking, when she's trying to think imagistically about the tarot, she is thinking in terms of tableau and set pieces. And for any of us who have dived deep into the iconographic universe of the Waite Smith deck, each of those cards is presenting a scene, right? That sometimes people talk about scenic pips as opposed to the more abstract number cards in a Marseille tarot or in a playing card deck where you just have 10 batons for the 10 of Wands. We call it scenic because Pamela Coleman Smith gives us scenes. And that theatrical sensibility resonates deeply with me, perhaps with you, in part because I love theater. I directed theater back in the backety-back evolutionary days, the caveman days of Esther, prehistoric time. Theater makes sense to me. And theater, in the way it brings forward, just like sacred ritual, it is in fact sacred ritual. It brings forward in time truths that transcend time. That influences how I understand the tarot. So we're going to look at 4 decks, and perhaps with a 5th deck that is not a photographic deck. I'm not sure yet. I'm going to see how this all flows. 4 decks that have a deeply theatrical understanding to them using photography. And I'm going to start first with the Carte Postale Tarot. This is Jane, I don't know Jane's last name, but Jane's tarot deck. It's beautifully produced, an indie deck. Some of you may be already familiar with it. I played with this last year as I was leading up to the Drop 'em 78. It's a deck that is funny, is cheeky, has a really fabulous 7 of Swords, as I recall from previous readings. A great Knight of Cups as well. It's a funny deck, amusing deck. So this tarot deck, the images were drawn from Jane's, from the artist's own collection of vintage postcards. That's why it's Carte Postale Tarot, that she amassed over years and years and years. She must have an amazing archive. I have to say that for this kind of very deluxe, quite beefy cardstock, this deck shuffles magnificently. You often don't get cardstock that feels so substantial, which can also do a good riffle. Okay. You know, it's all in the paper, people. It's all about ephemera. Okay. Whoops. 2 cards just jumped out as I'm beginning to set intentions. And so we have the Knight of Coins and the 3 of Coins. Okay, so I think you're pointing right off the bat. These are colorized too. So pretty. I think you're pointing right off the bat to the work that we can do together. I think that's what you're saying, to the sort of steadfastness that you're going to bring to this challenge. What do you want me to... I mean, that tells me something about you and about your dedication to working with me, but what do you want me to see right now? What do you want me to know? 8 of Cups. Okay, so there's somewhere to reach for. There's somewhere to go. Some path that leads me up. Somewhere to go, somewhere to reach. And that figure is definitely looking back. How do I go up if I'm looking back? The Lovers. And I think this deck has multiple Lovers cards. Wow. That's pretty extraordinary. So I had a male Lovers card. What deck was that? With the Scarab and Dahlia Tarot. And so I do think there's, you know, this coming together of the Lovers, that kind of wholeness that it beckons to, that harmonizing of all the parts of the self, of anima and animus, to use like the Jungian terms. But I think there's also something here about my own masculine energy that's been coming up in a lot of the readings. So is this about moving toward some other kinds of understanding of self? Is it coming home? Wow, that's a wonderful Four of Wands. Are you wanting to take me to the stability of home, of what is really here with me? Is that death? Memento mori. This deck is really funny. So there's transformation here. I'm trying, there's so much playfulness in these images. Can I take you seriously? Yeah. Look at that Ten of Wands. It's like, yes, you can. Do you need it to be so heavy? Are you telling me to lighten up? Is that your main message with me, is to lighten up? Is that you're like, yes, lighten up, bring it all together, make your wish, blow on the dandelion. It's all here. Oh, that's an incredible World card, isn't it? Are there any dark sides that you want me to look at? The death, the transformation of death, but I'm wondering about shadow, and you're like the Two of Wands. So there might be some exploration that's needed. Do you see me as sitting on the fence? Like that figure in the Two of Wands? Do you think I'm sitting on the fence? And you're saying the Nine of Swords. Oof, look at that Nine of Swords. Yeah, I'm a little overwhelmed. Okay, this is the dark side. Like the anxiety, the overwhelm. I'm definitely full on with my life's fullness. So you're trying to help me. You want to help me carry that. And if I'm hearing you right, you want me to access some lightness as I do that. Is that right? And you're saying the King of Swords. So yes, that kingly, airy, embracing quality that can hold it all and come to a place of equanimity. Yeah. Well, that makes sense. What else? What else do I need to know about you, maybe? Or what else do I need to know in general? And you're saying the moon. You can help me with the intuition. You can help me with intuition. This is full on the waters, which may be going back to this Nine of Swords, where the anxiety is about all of the waters. I think you're saying, yeah, the moon, that watery realm of the unconscious and of the archetypal and the imaginary and the imaginal. Yeah, this is what you want me to be at ease with. Okay. This all, I think, makes sense. Any last word? I sort of feel like I need to pull one more card. Is there a last word here? And you're saying Four of Coins. Okay, don't hold on too tightly. Don't try to box it up. Don't try to, yeah, let go. Let go. Okay. Four of Coins. There is no last word. Stop. Okay, fair enough. Oh, yeah. Wow. Okay. Carte Postale. It is the past that holds the key of understanding the present and foreseeing the future. So, okay. So the kind of world of the sort of theatricality of these images, these vintage photos, colored, little bit of collaging. Yeah. Okay, this next deck is Carrie Paris's Relative Tarot, the indie edition, which has this gorgeous brown, I mean the color tone and the beautiful matte edging, the cardstock. It's a really beautiful deck. The original indie version came with an oracle deck as well, which I don't really read with because I'm not a big oracle person, but it's a lovely benefit, I think, of possibly working with this deck, working with this deck for the drop 'em. I could picture the oracle cards becoming a part of that process. This too is a deck using vintage photography, not just postcards, however. And as you'll see, many of these cards really have a strong theatrical flavor to them. They feel like they're drawn from the world of vaudeville and stage. And then Carrie Paris's collaging to make these fit the Waite-Smith universe is just really well done. It's quite clear and crisp and really echoes the images of the Waite-Smith deck that it's responding to, but it really works. I think she's done a phenomenal job. And the sense of these as being ancestors is interesting to me, but the theatricality of it kind of cuts against that sense of the ancestral. So that's not how I just read with it like I do with the Carte Postale as theatrical vintage images. Relative Tarot. What do you want me to see? Where do you want to take me this fall? Whoops. I don't read with reversals for this. So we've got the Four of Pentacles. Okay, we're picking up. We're picking up where we just left off with the Four of Coins, the Four of Pentacles. Yeah, and then her, I'm trying to remember the meanings in her system of the images on the side. So I was trying to find my guidebook. I can't find it. It's somewhere stashed away because I don't use it with this deck and I don't really use her system. But these, this is relating to birth cards and this to companion cards. So, I can't remember how the Fool, Death, and the Emperor relate to the Four of Pentacles. Exactly how she gets that. And then the Four of Swords, is it Four of Swords? Yeah, the Four of Swords as a kind of companion card. In the Minor Arcana, I don't know, but this is, we just had, there is a kind of consistency here and maybe a pointing again to like this, this SD life of burden and a kind of withholding and holding on to the treasure of tarot. And are you going to be working with me on letting things go? Is that what you want me to see in all of this? A kind of letting things go? Is that? And we've got the Five of Wands. Okay. How do we create harmony? We're not. How do we work together? So is this about you and me? How do we work together? Or is this about me and my environment, my life, circumstances, how to bring my energy? I feel like I've gotten the Five of Wands at least once before in these dueling dialogues, but is this about me finding harmony in my life, in my community? Yeah, something about, this is the Relative Tarot, so something here about ancestors and coming to terms with my karma. These actually do look like they could very much. Neither side, my parents' families came from Germany in the 1930s. So this is a little bit earlier, but it is that kind of immigrant. Yeah, okay. So is this about karma then? Is this about harmonizing with who I am? And how does this relate to the, oh, okay, you're about to tell me, Hierophant. Authority, tradition, lineage. Is this my relationship? I don't understand. My relationship to authority, my relationship to my past, my own authority, my teaching, what it means for me to be in a teacher's seat. There's something that is being held really tightly. I'm still not clear if I need to let it go or... you're saying, yeah, you, and I love that this is, you know, I'm a Zen Buddhist. It's a Japanese tradition. We have this, in this Nine of Wands, we have this image of this, maybe she's a geisha, but definitely burdened. That energy, that burden, what I'm carrying. Yeah. I just dropped a bunch of cards, way too many to read. I'm feeling a little bit lost. I need more precision here. So what I'm getting from this is about heaviness and holding, and also legacy, and that 10 of Pentacles, and coming into harmony with the past, and ways in which my energy is being perhaps burdened. Yes, okay, I'm on the right track. 10 of Wands, okay. So what's your role in helping me with this? Or how are you going to help me work with this? You're carrying on the same conversation I think I had with the Carte Postale. And where do you want to take me with this set of issues? And you're saying to the Emperor, which is my hub card. Okay, into, and we just had the Hierophant, into some authority and power. That's a really gorgeous Emperor. See how beautifully she does the collaging, just really seamlessly and gracefully and gorgeously integrating the, you know, like his scepter, these elements of the Waitsmith or the ram's head and the throne behind him. Yeah, so this is about me and my Emperor qualities, me and my Hierophantic self. Is that just about me? And you're saying it's also about you. Okay, it's about the work we can do together. I love this. I love her integration of kind of, it's almost like like a live action mingled with animation. It really, it heightens it just works really well. It heightens the theatrical impact of the images. It makes the deck playful and beautiful. So to what end is this work that we're doing? And maybe you've answered this already, but I'm slow. And you're like, to the end of joy, of peace, of the fulfillment of the heart, going beyond the limits of the self, going beyond that 9 of Wands and that energy to this fulfilled cup. Okay, anything else that I need to know here? Any last words? Yeah, okay, temperance. This is process, this is flow. There's some alchemical work happening here. You can trust in it. Okay. Yeah. Okay. All right. Very consistent readings between the two vintage photograph decks, maybe not surprisingly. This is another kind of vintage photograph deck. This is B. Nettles Mountain Dream Tarot, and this is the 2012 edition, which is the 3rd edition of this deck. So there was the first hand-created one that she started in 1970. Oh, here's a lovely little card. And then she created a 2nd edition where she scanned those images in 2001. She scanned those images and then digitally colored them to... She took the original black and white, which had been then sort of this is photographic collage in the days before you had digital tools. So this is like you take two images and you superimpose them in the darkroom, and that's how you do like magical stuff with photography. And then in the original deck, begun in 1970, she hand colored the images. And then in 2001, she reprints the deck by scanning it, digitally then colorizing the originals in the manner of the original photographic deck. This version, it was a print-on-demand version, is still available on her website. Don't love the backs, but I wanted this edition. It's also, you can get a slightly cheaper version of it. This one I like because it aimed to capture the hand-colored feel of the original 1970 images. So this is the third edition. There's a fourth edition that's available. Both third and fourth are available on her website. This version came straight from Make Playing Cards. And it's got that nice standard Make Playing Cards cardstock. It's quite lovely. So these, something's jumping out, wanting to speak right away. Six of Swords. So she created these images, right, with friends, with darkroom magic. Where was she? She was in, I want to say she was in North Carolina. Yeah, she was at the Penland School in North Carolina. She was working with the, I mean, this is 1970. It's like the very beginning of the tarot moment in contemporary culture. She was working with the Pictorial Guide to the Tarot, Key to the Tarot, Arthur Edward Waite's book, and that was like her starting point. So, Six of Swords. Okay, you're telling me that there's a journey here and a carrying across. Okay, let's shuffle up. I love, this is, the first photographic tarot deck, and I love that it is capturing a moment. This is actually the same moment. My husband, who's older than I am, was a college student at Goddard College in Vermont. So very similar kind of moment for him. And that's where he first encountered the tarot. He doesn't read anymore. But this deck feels nostalgic for me. Not nostalgic for my own life, but for my husband's, late teens, early 20s. For this moment in American culture of, great unrest and anxiety, and also great spiritual awakening. Maybe a moment a little bit like where we are right now, although maybe more hopeful. Ooh, Judgment. Whoa, look at that. Yeah, the Judgment card. Yeah, this is a moment of calling. I mean, this is where we are, and this deck captures in tarot iconography this cultural moment, which in 1970 versus 2024, 44 years later, no, 54 years later, Jesus. Seriously? Yeah. Shit, man. Do the math. Yeah. Where we are now. Okay, so Mountain Dream Tarot. B. Nettles. What do you want me to know? What do you want me to see? Okay. We're getting some real consistency here. We have another Three of Pentacles, right? So there's some communal work here. This working together. And this sense of, what is that backdrop? This sense of both of community, that sense of community that's always there in the threes. You've got one, you've got two, now you've got a third, you've got family, you've got community, but then also that there's work, there's collective work here. And this is the work that the community doing Drop 'em 78 is doing. This is the work that I could do with this tarot deck. This is the work of this moment. I love the half naked. Yes. Fabulous. This is like, you know, like Judgment card meets being, you know. So what is the collective work that you want to do? Oh, another 10 of Cups. Yeah, pointing upward. I mean, it is, you know, there is this echo here of the Waite Smith. There is also Suburban Dream. There is what could be realized in a human life. That possibility, that promise, that rosy promise, right? Okay, so how exactly are you going to help me get closer to that 10 of Cups, which we've now seen in a couple, 9 of Cups. Fell out. Yeah, just, okay, we have, again, this lightheartedness. I love those cups. Laughter and joy, maybe. Why is this? Why is his mouth open? Is he yawning? Is he laughing? He doesn't look necessarily happy. But there's some big energy and a groundedness and a repose. I love the boot and the sacks that he's sitting on. So, okay. So, you know, I've been getting this message a lot, anchoring in the self. Yeah. Anchoring in the self. In self-satisfaction, in self, in self-comfort, in self-care, in self-compassion, and the King of Wands. King of Wands. Is that Wands? It must be. Yes. Okay. Not a particularly fiery looking King of Wands, but okay. It's almost like he's holding a bow. Okay. So that fire, that air of fire energy, this is when I mean, we've had King of Wands before. It's like, how do I hold that energy that I am? How do I come into it? How do I reach a kind of 9 of Cups state of ease and satisfaction? How? Yes, how? And you're saying Page of Wands. Okay. So allow myself, again, I feel like I've gotten this message before, allow myself to be apprentice to the fire. Where are you in all this, and how do you help? You're going to help me find balance. And also this kind of, look at this kiddo, this young guy. Yeah. Play and balance. And maybe being willing to be a little bit off kilter. A play and balance that actually may mean that I'm willing to lose my balance. Is that, am I understanding things? Yeah, you're saying you need this earth energy. And again, I feel like I've gotten the Page of Pentacles and the Page of Wands before in other readings. So being page to this energy, learning from it, learning from the earth, learning from the groundedness, learning from the fire, being willing to be a little off kilter. Do you want to work with me, Mountain Dream Tarot? Yeah. Okay, lovers. This deck is really delightful, isn't it? Okay. All right. Last word. Two of Wands. Yeah. Okay. I mean, I'm getting the same cards again and again and again. There is a journey here. There is a coming into self, into home. apprenticing myself to earth and to fire, willingness to face this moment. This deck, I think, is really hearkening to this moment with the Judgment card. It's not giving the same strong flavor of the Carte Postale, which is calling forth the moon, and the Temperance card, which was calling forth the Temperance card in the Relative Tarot, which is calling forth a kind of alchemy. Here, let me just, actually, I haven't asked. What's your power deck? And you're saying it's the Nine of Wands. You're talking about a kind of being here with the moment and the vigilance, and also a matching of my energy. Okay. The last deck. So this is kind of what makes this whole thing special, because I was suddenly this past weekend, so just less than like 6 days ago, I was thinking, oh my God, I really need the Somnia Tarot. I really need to read with it. It might be the deck that I should be working with this fall. It might be the deck. I got that very strong feeling at the same time that I got the feeling that I might need to work with the Prisma Visions deck, which I just did a reading with. And I don't own the Somnia Tarot, or I didn't own the Somnia Tarot. And I'm like, ugh. At this point, it was October 4th. I'm like, how can I get this deck here? I emailed through his SD shop. I emailed Nicolas Bruno, the artist behind the deck, and he actually put it into UPS so that we'd get here. It got here. He sent it on Monday. It got here yesterday. It took 3 days to get here. Nicolas, thank you. This deck is beautiful. I don't know why I'd resisted buying it earlier. You know, it's been on my radar since it was a Kickstarter. I think I mistakenly had this idea. This is just a photographic recreation of the Waite-Smith that's like a little bit unsettling and uncanny, and I don't really need that. But, you know, it really has this theatrical sensibility and this exploration of the dream world, and just a beautiful aesthetic. It's got these elements of sculpture and costume design and photography, and it reminds me of it's sort of like a modern day Mountain Dream. You know, it's kind of like our generation's Mountain Dream. The Somnia Tarot. Okay, so you guys have probably seen this deck many times in unboxings. Here are the backs with a sort of faintly Masonic feel to them. And I'm going to shuffle. Okay, so these cards feel so beautiful. They're not real riffle cards. This big chunky deck, but it's beautiful cardstock, and it is sort of slightly slippy, but not glossy. And that new tarot smell, it's beautiful. Okay. Somnia Tarot. What do you want me to see? Eight of Swords. Okay. So beautiful. It's so painterly, this deck, for all its photographic clarity. It's just so yeah, so you want me to see how I am imprisoned. You maybe want me to be able to see something of the reflections in the water underneath. Why am I imprisoned in your understanding? What are those bonds? And you're saying it's the Five of Cups. Oh, grief and remorse. Yeah. Well, yeah. Grief for sure. And just this being tied to the umbrella while you're standing in the water, not going to protect you from the rain. if you're standing in the water. Okay. So how does freedom happen? Seven of Coins. There's yeah, patience for sure, and there's something that's been planted and that needs to be harvested. Is that what you're saying? Patience, and there's something that's been planted that needs to be harvested. Oops. Okay, 2 cards just jumped out. 6 of Swords. We've gotten that before today, haven't we? And the 10 of Coins, and we've gotten that before. So, okay. Yeah. So there's a journey. And we've got to cut the cords to cross the water. This is the metaphors in this deck are so powerful. Oh, the sand is already, okay, so the sand has been cut out. Okay, so something's going to lift. And then this treasure. Okay, so how does the balloon lift? Like, what does it mean for the sand to have drained? Like, how does that happen? How is that happening? Oh, Somnia Tarot. How is that happening? Boy, 9 of Coins. So I'm getting a lot of coins here, which I don't think of this as a very embodied deck. It's so ethereal, although it's photography, and photography is based in like light hitting objects and then creating some kind of reaction or some kind of sort of interaction with whatever's recording the image. So there is some fundamental materiality involved in photography, although it also is a medium of light. Okay, be that as it may. So the 9 of Coins, yeah, being in the garden, being willing to face the vista, being in self. Who are you, Somnia Tarot? Like, how do you see yourself in this process? Oh, you know, I've got the 3 of Swords a lot with the Prisma visions. So there's, yeah, wow. Yeah, so you understand this heartache and you hold it. You're a deck that really understands pain and loss and the reflections that come because of it. There's so much water in this deck. So many reflections. I mean, he was photographing these images, started during the pandemic on Long Island. So, you know, he's got the water all around him, and in the middle of a pandemic, in the middle of isolation. That's the origin of this deck. Okay, so you have that suffering. You know, with some of these decks, I've worried that they're too light, that they can't take me to the dark places. I'm wondering if you can take me to the light. You know, if you're really gonna, or if this is just gonna be rolling in the deeps. And you said, well, maybe not. This is, or are you saying this is my dream? This is me? I bring the 9 of Swords with me. I bring that world of anxiety and mind and turmoil and all the crazy that is SDSD. Are we stuck in, I mean, this is a card of dreams and potentially of nightmare, of that shadowy place. Do I get free of that? I don't want to just be in the world of the 9 of the self, of my neuroses, etc., etc. Is there a getting beyond that happens? Can you take me beyond, I suppose, beyond that? Oh, you're like, yes. Yes. I mean, through the particular vision of this deck, which is no faces, melancholy, but here's the water. What does that water nourish? Oops. Okay, we're back to the 8 of coins. The work, the practice, the land of coins, the earth, the craft. Okay. Any last word that I should know? Somnia? You're a deep one. Okay. Queen of coins. Now that is not the Earth Mama Queen of Pentacles that everybody wants to see. Queen of Pentacles and Three of Swords were the cards that leap forward with the Prisma Visions. Very different looking than this Queen of Coins. Of course, it's not the Queen of Pentacles, it's the Queen of Coins. And these look very metallic. Yeah, but something about that queen and about the earth and the water that queen holds, the Queen of Cups, Queen of Coins. Okay, wow, guys. Woo! Okay, and now one last dueling, and that is dueling eyeglasses. So I was able to get a second pair, got a good deal. This is my second pair of glasses, okay? They've got transition frames. These frames get darker in the sun, and transition lenses. So these get darker, but here they are. SD1, SD2. You've seen me in these before. SD2, SD1. Of course, there's also SD3, but without her contact lenses, she can't see a damn thing. SD2, SD1. What do you guys think? Okay. Thank you all. Thank you so much for your practice. Much love.